we want to get started kind of formally now.
Okay.
Okay, because I'm gonna start the tape, because we're gonna send this tape and the videotape in to the New York State Military Museum.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and that's the other thing, did you bring those papers that I sent you? Those,
The sign and everything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
because I'm gonna put those in.
This is garbage, this is garbage.
Ooh, nice other pictures too.
What?
Wow.
And I think there's something I signed. Just a minute, hang on.
No, these aren't mine. Yeah, those are mine.
Yeah, hang on.
It's there. No. There.
Well,
Yep, that's it. That's
Oh,
what I
there
want.
it is.
Yep. And that too.
and this one too?
Okay. All right, you guys ready?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Why not? Let's put the show on the road.
Okay. Here we are at Orchard Park High School. It's April 11th, 2005, and we are interviewing Anthony Sojka, a World War II veteran. He is being interviewed by...
Matt Majeski. Matt Solomon.
Ron Fulton.
Okay, and Mr.
Tony
Sojka, I'll leave
Sojka.
you with the boys, and make sure you speak up so we can, hear it.
Okay.
Okay?
Will do.
Thanks, and you only have 45 minutes.
Oh, okay.
So,
Boy, that's a long time, 45 minutes. Well,
Alrighty.
time for a sip of coffee now. Okay, fellas, I gotta start the show right. To be frank with you, I think my mother weaned me on coffee. Really?
Okay.
There was always a pot of big coffee, and never enough thing. Then you had to put your chemistry in all the time and everything if you wanted it.
Alright. Were you drafted or were you enlisted?
No, I was enlisted. I enlisted. I'll tell you what, there's a little story on my enlistment. On my 18th birthday, okay, I went to the post office uptown on Ellicott Street. That was the recruiting thing. I used to watch it when I used to go to Hutchins High School. He had a big sign up there. Uncle Sam said, "We need you," one of those things.
Yeah.
And it was at the end of the Great Depression. There was no work, no nothing. My dad didn't work for 7 years. Okay? And there was nothing for me. I'm 18, right there. 18 years old. Okay, when I enlisted, okay. Now, I enlisted, or I went to the post, or the recruiting office on my birthday, 12/14/1920. Okay, and I filled out the papers for enlistment and everything, and the guy finally came back in. He was a major. And he said, "Gee, I'm sorry," he says, "there's no openings. We can't take you. Okay, so you can't enlist, but you got the forms all filled out." He says, "Just give me someplace I can get in contact with you." Well, my neighbor had a telephone next door, so I gave him that phone number. And I told the neighbor, I'm expecting a call from there. No, that was 12/14/20. Okay, and the reason for me going there was no work. There was no future or nothing. Really, I didn't know what to do. And no money for school or anything, additional school. I figured, well, I'll join the service, what the hell. In fact, I was the first one in the neighborhood that did. There were a few that followed me. Now, I got calls in between intermittently, but nothing yet, And I got a call around the 1st of April, or in May, 1939. I had a long wait, So they told me, he said, "Gee, there's an opening for Coast Artillery in Panama." "Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take anything they got. I'm anxious to go in, And he says, "Okay, come on in, sign the paper and stuff," which I did. So I enlisted on the 3rd of March, 1939. And I had to wait there all that time, really. Which they did. That's the story of me waiting. Well, there was actually nothing to do but wait.
What,
They sent me to Fort Slocum, Long Island. Okay, that's the port of embarkation. And there got to be a group of us, you know. And suddenly they come, he says, well, he says, look, he says, there's some cancellations, he says, for Panama. We got all we need, you know, and blah, 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 you know. The rest of you people will be reassigned. I was one that was reassigned. And where do you think they sent me? Fort Niagara, Youngstown, New York, my backyard. You know, oh, sure, I took it. Okay, so I did my basic there and everything. Now, would you believe we had a one-on-one basic training? I mean, that's the way it was. The Army at that time was only 150,000 standing Army at that particular time when I got in. Okay, there was not even enough weapons for everybody. But I went to Rome and I saw some of the depot there where they stored all the World War II mess gears and whip equipment and rifles and pistols and everything. God, there was mountains of stuff in these buildings, you know, but they're all antiquated. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. All had been used and tuned in for the guys in World War I. Really, you know? Well, okay. Time went on. And I had a corporal, a Corporal Bernicki. He had 12 years military service. He's a professional soldier. And God, he could drill me like you wouldn't believe. He pounded me and I learned fast. I took it was like a fish takes to water. That's how I took the military, really, you know. I was anxious to learn, man, my God, really. And being so close to home, the weekends, and you could leave as long as you're back next Monday. You could leave Saturday, you know, if you wanted to, but you had to be back in barracks by Monday morning for Reveille. Holy cripes, you know, these guys are going there. Well, I wouldn't go home. It was only, what, 30-some miles for me to go home to Buffalo. I would start to sign up for every class that the officers put up because they had to stay for the weekend. You know, some officer had to. And they had map reading, tactical stuff, and weapons, and you name it. You know, close order, everything in the military. I'd attend every class that they had. Really, I didn't go home. Only on good days like Easter or, you know, Christmas and stuff like that, really. But I stayed in camp, really. And I became a pretty good soldier. But it was interesting because this Corporal Bernanke, God, I'm telling you, he drilled me like you would see on TV today. But these drilled people, you know, really, the guy was good though. Man, he was excellent. He taught me everything, really, all the basics that I needed, really, you know. Before I knew it, about a month later, I'm now joined the company. You know, doing regular chores with the company, everything. Then I had a corporal that I was assigned to, a Corporal Rowley from Olean, New York. And God, he went about 260, 80 pounds because he was a heavyweight champ of Hawaii, boxer. He used to come to me every morning, hit me. And if I didn't hit him, he'd slap me. Hit me. That ain't hard enough. Hit me. Really, the guy was unbelievable. God, I'm telling you. Tough. And he already had about 17 years service in the service. You know, they were professional soldiers, really. The people that I had in there, really, most of them were professionals. From World, you know, some even from World War I. Our mess sergeant was from World War I, in fact. So we had some of the best food in the world. Really? Oh yeah. Okay, here I'm guessing. Oh, that's just upon entry. Now you got that. March the 3rd, 1939 is when I enlisted. Okay. And my home address was 759 North Division Street, Buffalo, New York. End of Depression, no work to be heard of. You know, really. Finally, I enlisted for the military service on my birthday. Okay, that was 12, 14, 20, or 38. But there were no immediate openings. They called me 3/1/39, an opening in Coast Artillery in Panama. I accepted, and they told me to report right away. And boy, then I got on a plane or on a train, and boy, next day I was in Fort Slocum. And what do you think they gave me for a job to keep me busy when I'm waiting for embarkment? Now, they have a Long Island Sound waterway there, okay, it separates. And there was a ferry boat. They made me a deckhand on a ferry boat. And I know less about seamanship. Really. Now, the only experience I had there, and I didn't last long, I'll tell you, really. Because you guys heard of the tide of the ocean? Well, now listen to this. When I reported to work, the tide was 2-3 foot from. Oh, I just hand a guy a rope, to, when we to put it around the thing to hold the ship there, Well, came midnight. 20 feet. And they got this big rope. And I'm trying to throw it up there. And I can't. I can't do it. Really, until finally you allow. Tie a smaller rope on it and throw a smaller rope up there, which I finally did, I didn't last very long, though, after that. And it was a short time later they shipped me back to Fort Niagara. Okay, so much for that. All right. Okay.
Did you see any combat?
Pardon?
Did you see any combat?
I saw a lot of combat.
Did you?
And it's like I said from the beginning, we were all green. We didn't know nothing. Really, you'd never realize how good the Germans and the Italians were, really, when you fought them. These guys knew what the heck they were doing, really. We didn't. And it takes time to learn. You don't learn overnight. You learn some of the basic skills immediately, but that ain't enough to put you through, really, Oh, yeah. It's quite an experience when you're learning, because even the British didn't want us to be on their left flank or right flank. Well, we can't rely on the 34th Division. They're green. They don't know nothing. And they weren't afraid to tell us. They would tell us this, really, And I mentioned earlier, now we still belonged to the Patton's Third Army when we were in Africa from the beginning and all the way through. We never saw a tank, an American tank. And you wonder why. Well, you're fighting, so you can't expound or think. You can't be a big thinker when you're up there, because they don't want anybody that thinks. They only want people who will obey an order immediately. Okay? This is what they want. That's why the young kids are the best. They're not the thinkers, but they're the doers. Okay, do you want me to do that? And they go ahead and do it. Well, either they're wounded or killed or missing in action or something, really. But I'm not for war, I'll tell you right now, even to this day, from what I've seen. Okay? And I was lucky to get through. Because I can tell you, I took my combat jacket off, which was like a fatigue, nice sport jacket almost, in Africa. And when I took it off, I couldn't understand all these holes I had in it. I found about 8 holes in my jacket, and I'm counting them, And where the hell did I get them from? Well, the only thing I can is many times I was in a firefight, you'd hear them ding, 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 they're shooting at you, And it kicks up the dust sometimes close by, so you hit the ground and all that sort of stuff. And what I think happened in my jacket is that they were hitting, but they weren't hitting the body. They were just putting holes in my jacket. I think the guy upstairs was looking over after me, really, and I didn't know this at all, really. But that's the way things happen, really. And when I saw this, I couldn't believe it, And I've had some real close calls. I had one little firefight that I remember. And my oldest guy in the outfit was 40 years old. He was a National Guardsman. Okay? Now, we were in this fight for half a day already. Okay? And suddenly I look over and I see him up there looking at the ground, standing up, and they're shooting at him and everything. We're under small arms attack, rifle fire, machine gun fire. And there he is, oblivious to what's going on around him. He was more interested in what was on the ground. Well, I finally wiggled my way over until I got to the point that I finally got up and ran and I tackled him and I knocked him to the ground. And I said, what the hell are you doing? I said, you want to get killed? Standing up there like that? He says, what are you doing? I said, how come you're standing up? I says, they're shooting at you. Don't you realize that? Yeah, but Lieutenant, I lost my false teeth. I'll never forget that as long as I live. Really, I lost my false teeth. Well, he found them later on. I told him, well, don't you look for it until the time gets, you know, where darkness starts to come and stuff like that. Maybe you can go look. And he did find them. And I'll tell you another thing. After about a year and I was wounded and I met my troops, he was still living. Okay? I had about 45 men when I started, and when I got through and left the outfit, there were only about 14 left that I started with. They were either wounded or killed in action and stuff like that, really. And he was one. So you see, you never know about it. Right? Never. And there's no such place as a safe place on the combat front. And the only time that you can get off or away from the front is either get killed or wounded. Believe me when I tell you. Communications is just about zero. I mean, some of the things that I've learned as an officer or even as a non-com never came into practice. We were that green, learning, really, I'm telling you. And I never saw Patton's tanks. They have never supported us in battle. They never led us in battle like they're supposed to. And I never saw an American aircraft. Now you tell me. Okay, now this is 42, 43, okay. No, they were there. I finally found out that they had no airfields in Tunisia that the Americans could have for flying. The closest place was Oran, 1,000 miles away. Well, by the time they flew up to where we were supposed to get all our bombing raids and support and everything, they're running out of gas and had to turn around and go back. We never seen them. But Messerschmitts and Stukas see them all the time. No good. No good. I tell you a little story. Oh, that's listening. I'll listen. We had occupied some higher ground. You know, you got some rolling hills in Africa also. And we occupied these things after firefighting. Things were a little bit on the calm side. And it was mid-morning, okay? And I'm on top, and then, hey, Lieutenant, wait, look at that, look at those 3 trucks over there. Well, they were British. And 2 of them looked like almost Jeeps, like our Jeeps, you know, and one was, I think, a half-ton or a 3/4 ton. There were about 10 soldiers there. And they were between these 2 hills, a nice little ravine between both of these hills. So they stopped, okay? I put the binoculars on them to take a closer look. And they're brewing tea. It was their tea break. It was around 10 o'clock in the morning. And all of a sudden, there was a big blast and smoke and everything. And the whole area was covered with dust and dirt and an explosion. They got all 3 vehicles and everybody there. One blast. They zeroed in on them and they gave them the works, really. That's the way it happens. All for a spot of tea, you know. Well, you're just not safe anywhere you go, really.
Did you get any medals?
No, I didn't get any. You know, one thing I want to tell you, I've never, in as much as I was in the service and all, there was never a class or anything telling us how, okay, to do the work to incorporate, to honor somebody with a medal, a Silver Star, Bronze Star, or Medal of Honor, or whatever. They never told us what to do or how to do it or anything. To this day, I don't know. And I've seen one soldier that I think I would have put in for a medal. We were in a firefight. This within the years. of fighting, within the year of fighting, we were stopped by about 3 machine gun nests. And this guy was a farmer from Minnesota. Okay? And every time we had stopped in our traveling, boy, he would dig a hole, my God, almost to China. Really. You could hardly see his face. He'd get standing fox, all he would do all the time. And he would look, you know, for the aircraft and stuff like that there. Well, he got a reputation of being a guy that's scared. Look at what he built. How he builds a slit trench and a standing slit trench and stuff like that, you know. He's always, seems like he's afraid. Well, this time we're in this firefight and we're all stopped. We can't move. Okay? I saw him get up, and our BAR man was hit, Browning automatic rifle. And he goes over and he picks up this Browning automatic rifle. Okay, and he's in a standing position, and he charges this machine gun nest. And as he's charging it, he's shooting at it. And you could see the Germans getting out of the nest and running back. Then he twisted it into the next one, because they were pretty close together, you know. And you know, he evacuated those 3 machine gun nests.
Without getting hit.
Now, he made it through the end of the war, I really don't know. But he got through that with being unscathed. But you talk about heroism, my God, in the face of fire, and what he did, and he just took that beer. He's like a madman up there. He had only one thing in his head, really, was to get rid of them people, and he did. I mean, he saved a lot of people. Really. I could have put him in for a medal, but I didn't know how. I didn't have time to think about medals or anything. Because it was even difficult for me when I want to tell you, we didn't see American food for over 6 months in the American combat front line. Would you believe? Now, there was C rations and K rations and stuff like that available. We never got any. Every night I would go searching. Is our mess people going to come? Are they going to feed us, you know? No. And we got the British coming, and we would get British food. Now, British food was a wooden box, about 2 feet wide, okay, and a foot, loaded with cans that fed 14 troops, 1 squad. No can openers. Really, it's unreal. Really, that was our food, and we were lucky sometime to get food, and no 2 cans alike. I mean, you might wind up with a plum pudding and a spaghetti or a meatball here. You never knew, really. You know, you had to hack open these tin cans and everything. How could you distribute to 14 people? Really, it was unbelievable. It was tough, and I'll tell you right now, and I'll repeat it. That's one of the reasons why I'm against war. Okay, the same thing is happening in Iraq with the Humvee vehicle. Now, our government knows that the armor plate is not enough to protect the soldiers, and they're getting killed and stuff like that. And our government just takes their sweet little old time to do it, and then maybe next year it'll come out and it'll give them a vehicle that give them the protection they need. Now, why? Why? You know, I keep asking myself the question why, and I can't get a decent answer. They just take their time. Okay, they're not fighting people. In World War II, in World War II, we had an 11 million standing army in this country. 500,000 of those men were only the fighting men. And it's like I told you before. Once you get to be a combat soldier, you're a combat soldier until you either die or you get wounded. That's the only way you see any rest or relaxation. Really. You don't get any. Because they're in the backyard, in their backyard having a hell of a good ball. Those 11 million people. Now, it takes 10, 11 people to take care of one fighting man. Okay, technically it does. For the food, supply, transportation, logistics, meals and stuff like that, clothing and all. Well, that's another thing. I finally wound up with a British uniform. I'm an American soldier. And my clothing got sold, and no bathing or anything, you know. And here I'm trying to take care of men that I have, you know, plus myself. And when I hit this British outfit, I talked to these British officers, and God dang, this guy gave me an Eisenhower jacket. This one gave me a little pair of shorts, and that fit. I took them. Really. I mean, it's a heck of a thing to say, but that is the way it was. And we were all green. We were still learning. My God, I mean, you have to learn how to protect yourself and everything when you're there, because nobody else is going to take care of you. Only you yourself. And the training you have, really. Oh, yeah. It's not a very good like that, I'm going to tell you. And it's fast moving. Everything is always something that's quickly on the move, you know, really. Oh, yeah.
Do you remember when the war ended?
Yeah.
What was that like?
I was here in the United States.
Oh, you were?
Yeah. And just another thing that surprised me, I think it was April of 44. They put me in an aircraft, DC-3, and they flew me from Tunisia 1,000 miles into Iran. The next thing I know, they put me in a hospital ship, and I'm going home. Hey, the war's still going on. Well, Tunisian war was finished by then. We were done there. I was wounded at the end of the Tunisian campaign, okay, a couple of days ago. But they knew that the war was getting down, because in a hospital there for a while, the roommate I had was a Major Morrow of the Central Intelligence, okay? And it was his job to follow the fighting front, okay? And he was a chemist by trade. And he had a chemical kit that he took with him. And any time that there was a word that a new weapon was found, he was notified immediately, and boy, transportation, he goes right out there and photographs the stuff and makes file marks in the metal to find out what how good the metal was and stuff like that from years ago, you know, really, comparison, really. And he asked me, he says, hey, Tony, he says, you're ambulatory. He says, why don't you join me, you know? So I did it for about a month. And he had a box camera. God, it was big. Just a regular little old box camera. God, could that take pictures? I couldn't believe. He had a picture there where he went around the corner of an outfit like that there, because on one side was an American soldier with a BAR, and the next building on the other side was a German air, and they were both shooting at each other. You know, Western style, they'd go over and blah, 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 they duck back in again. They were back and forth. And he just happened to get the camera out there, and he clicked it. And this guy with the Browning automatic was just in the proper position. You could see the advent of the bullets in flight before it was hitting him at an angle, crawling up his body. I couldn't believe what I was looking at, really. Oh, yeah, he killed him, really, right there. He must have hit him about 4 or 5 times, really. BAR used to shoot an automatic was about 600 rounds per minute. You know, oh, and they're all gone. Holy Christ! But you could see in the air. You could see that these things were going to go into his body and stuff like that. Really, it was unbelievable. This camera was. I couldn't believe it. And then we would file on the thing, and we had to write a medical or a chemical report, and was put in a plane that day. Okay, any time there in that day, and it was flown back to Washington, D.C. because they wanted to find out what the grade of their weapons was in the quality of their metal. Because from the beginning they had real high quality, and it was slowly degrading. And this is what this guy, Major Morrow, was doing, really. Which I gave him a helping hand, you know. It was fun, really. That we had to go into a combat zone, though. Okay? You know, like this one with the BAR. I mean, we were right there in the middle of a street fight, you know. But we did. But we felt a little bit on the safer side because we were not combat. We were taking pictures and filing metal, you know. Whatever the thing was it an artillery piece or radio pieces, you know, communications and everything. We tested everything, and every night, boy, the report goes to Washington, D.C. So they knew right there and then that they were losing the war because the grade of the metal, even Morrow was telling me, he said, boy, he says, their grade is really getting shitty, you know. He says, you could tell by the report and by the chem analysis. It would leave a certain color, okay? I don't have a cold, I have a sinus drip. But anyway, okay, any other further questions, fellas?
Yeah. Do you think movies like Saving Private Ryan and stuff like that do an accurate
Nah.
job?
They'll never come back to the accuracy of what
No war
Active.
movies have been like accurate, you think?
they try, but never could they ever compare to show you. Let me tell you another little story. His name was Truex, a Frenchman in my outfit. He was our S2, our intelligence officer for the battalion. The most handsomest guy I ever saw in my life. We all used to kid him, you shouldn't be in war, you should be in Hollywood. You know, having fun with all the nice actresses and stuff like that. You know, this guy was an awfully good-looking guy. And then really down to earth, intelligent like you, like us guys, regular. He came to see us on his front line that we were fighting, you know, and the enemy had disappeared that night, okay? And this is the way it happens. They move from area because it's a mobile war. It's not stationary. And Truex was there with his driver and his Jeep. And he says, and when he got through telling us what the little scoop was on intelligence, which wasn't a hell of a lot, and he says, hey, he says, what's up this road here? I said, I don't know. I said, we haven't been up that road. This is as far as we got. And he says, oh, well, okay, so maybe we think it's pretty quiet. He says, I think I'll take a ride up it. Okay. Well, about an eighth to a quarter of a mile, we hear this terrific explosion. Uh-oh. And Truex just went up that damn road. Okay, so I'm figuring that it's mined, you know. But what he must have, when I went there, okay, we found hardly could find any part of the Jeep at all, okay. But I did find Truex's shoe. His foot was still in it. I'll never forget that. It's the most awfulest feeling in the world, really. And here I just got through talking to the guy. That just blew the whole thing right up. A big Teller 2 mine. Okay, I knew weapons pretty good in World War II. It's surprising how you learn. I had another story I could tell you, you know, knowing some of the things about World War II. We were in an approach march. This is part of this story here, where we almost lost our vehicle over the crest of a mountain, you know. When one of the wheels went over, you know, we had to got the troops out on the other side gingerly, you know, because we were afraid the damn vehicle was going to go over about 1,000 feet straight down, 1,500 feet, just a crate, straight down. And the road is that wide. In fact, we had the MPs at night, this was, holding the vehicle and telling the driver, this way to the left, this way to the right, this way to the left, okay. And finally it slipped off the edge. Okay, and thank God we weren't going very fast, you know, so we all crawl out of the vehicle like snails. You know, we were afraid of any fast movements and everything. We didn't know. It's night anyway. But thank God that the vehicle behind us had a winch on the front, and he hooked us up. And he pulled us back on the road. And then we continued on going. But things like that happen. Now, it was during that particular time when we finally got to where the next morning we went into an approach battle march. And we must have like 20 miles across country, okay, waiting for the enemy. We didn't know exactly where they were until finally medium range and long range artillery started to hit us. So I figured, well, we're at least 6 miles from the enemy now, because this is, you know, that particular type of weapon that they're using against us. And we went through that until it started to get dusk. And we finally got to a halt because we were getting closer to small arms fire, rifle fire, machine gun fire, small mortars. Okay, we were past now the mid-range, the 3,000-yard artillery barrages and stuff, the 88s that were direct fire and stuff like that. And we stopped. And General Ryder, our divisional commander, called a meeting of the officers and says, well, he says, okay, he says, we've contacted the enemy. He says, we'll start off tomorrow morning, blah, 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 blah. You know, he gives tactical orders. And he looks and he says, in the distance you can see the outline of some hills that were in front. Oh, they must have been 3,000 or 4,000 yards in front of us. And he says, I want those 2 saw-teeth hills. And I want them taken tonight. Okay, that's what he said. Because they're real pronounced 2 saw-teeth, you know, on the outline against the sky. And then they would level out into hills, you know. And I said, General Ryder, I says, you're asking F Company and a platoon of heavy machine guns to accompany F Company to go take those 2 saw-teeth hills? Yeah, I want them. I says, why can't we send a recon patrol up there or a combat patrol up there and find out what's on that hill? You know what he told me? Lieutenant, he says, that's an order. My mouth closed, and that's all there is to it. I got no option. I gotta go. Okay? Well, we go. Okay? And listen to this. We hit the to 2 saw-teeth hills, and I was going through, and we were almost holding hands because it was so night, so blank out there, that if you didn't keep track of the guy in front of you, you get lost. Would you believe? Really, because distances occur due to the terrain and everything like that. So you hang on to the guy's either rifle or his hand or something like that there. And that's how we form like single files going through. But we're going through these 2 saw-teeth hills, like here and here. And we're going through the thing there. And they're maybe only about 15 yards apart. And when I get there, just as I'm entering into the pass between the 2 hills, a white flare goes up. Okay? Well, when it does, I mean, you have a reaction. You start hitting the dirt. And boy, when they did, it was the original front line of the Germans or the enemies. And they had what they call a final protective fire. This is all prearranged as you develop a defensive position, and you want to make sure that the height of the bullet off the ground is no more than a foot. Mm-hmm. Okay, because they figure that by that if you're laying there, you'll still get it if you're laying down, and they cross fire and everything to protect your entire front. And the fire, and the final protective fire, when that first flare goes up, when you put your finger on that trigger, you never take it off because until that barrel is red hot, and you're running out of ammunition. You got to put new boxes of ammunition in there, but you keep shooting all the time, 100%, until you get another flare. Okay, when that means that they get another repair, well, okay, you repulsed whatever was trying to get through in an attack. That was us, and we never got the chance. Okay. But there we laid. Now, knowing the equipment, okay, I knew from studying their weapons that their machine guns elevate and depress so many degrees as it shoots constantly in a final protective line. In other words, it'll shoot about 50 bullets, and then it'll come up 2 degrees, 50 more, and it'll go up 2 degrees, and create a beaten zone, okay? If it was just stationary, you would get a beaten zone that was only maybe about 3 foot by a foot. But as you depress 10 degrees, the beaten zone now becomes extended and bigger, okay? And you're getting the protection that you need, you know. Well, as I'm laying there, this stream of tracers, that's solid, is going over my left shoulder, eye level, as I'm laying there. Now the kid in front of me took the blunt of the thing and probably protected me from getting anything, okay? Because he was gone, okay? And now across my knees on the other side was a machine gun coming this way, okay? But that was far enough away. I was concerned with this one that was in front of me. Seeing these yellow tracers going by, you look at them cross-eyed. You can't think of anything, what to do or anything to protect yourself. But in time, a red flare came up, and when it did, they went into intermediate fire. You know, so many rounds, and they stop for half a minute or a minute and give you another burst, and blah, blah, you know, what you're doing. Well, it was then that I made the thing. Well, the only thing I can do is I got to get away from this stream of tracers that's over me, because all I keep doing, I see watching that going up and down, up and down. I don't know what way to do. Well, when they quit, I found that the shortest way was to go through the line, okay, into their line. But they're all stationary now with their final protective stuff, okay, which me and another kid that I start to poke along with the feet, and we both crawled, and we did get on the other side. And when they finally got the third flare up there, well, that was just table of opportunities for them to open a fire, okay? And when we were laying back there, and we're now behind the enemy line, you know, I says, hey, we got to go back. Okay, but now we know that they aren't shooting 100%, okay? It was just a table of opportunity now. And I started to count how many seconds there were between this burst from these machine guns, okay, especially these 2 that I was really concerned of, because they were the closest to us. And I figured, hey, we have 3 seconds. I can get up and I can run for 3 seconds, and I got to hit the ground immediately. So I got another guy. I got 2 other guys with me now, and I'm whispering and I'm telling them, now this is what we're going to do. Okay, when I give the word go, you know, they count 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, go. And when you do, and we all start to count it, everybody that counts, 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1, and you hit the ground right away. Well, by that time they start to open up fire, but you were already laying down, protecting ourselves. We were fortunate because we went through this process several times, and suddenly we were in a ditch. Oh, we felt so secure in a ditch. Oh my God. We were below the ground, you know? We felt safe when we were in the ditch. Well, but we still went through our process of 3 seconds, okay? But the further away we got, it got longer and longer and longer until finally we got out of the range and they didn't care about us anymore, really.
You know, these boys have to get to their next class. They have to get to their next class now.
Oh, really?
It's been 45 minutes. Doesn't seem that long, does it?
No, my God, really?
Were you able to see the pictures?
No.
No.
I didn't see nothing. Well, look, I wrote answers to my questions. You want to take it, Matt, or Ron? or-
Oh,
Thanks.
That'll
Yes.
definitely help us.
Okay, yeah. And
Oh, wait.
Here's the thing.
oh, so you wrote all the answers, right?
Well, I had time, you know.
Oh, good.
Look, here's my passport. When I went across.
You were gonna scan all that stuff.
Yeah.
Do any of you guys have a test to go to or anything?
I have one,
So I have study on.
so it doesn't really matter.
Okay, now listen, yeah, I'm gonna leave these, you kids can read it. I got here a thing here that states, in this here, 6 Western New York soldiers wounded, okay, and he had this, the paper and the the date, I think is here, yeah, May the 3rd, 1943. And it says here that Second Lieutenant Anthony Sojka was killed, or erroneously, it says the War Department erroneously announced Saturday that the wounded men had been killed in action. My mother got word I was killed.
Oh
Okay,
my
and then,
gosh.
for a week she, my mom was telling me this, really, you know. But then they phoned and got message to her
Oh my gosh.
about
it's
a week later,
miracle.
you know, that I was wounded rather than, and the article was here.
Did you tell the kids about that when he was wounded?
Yeah.
No, the trouble is I'm just gassing away. And here is when I got out of the service and went to work for Curtis Wright. There's an article in there.
Boy, you guys have a lot of stuff to work with.
And my wife saved the paper on
Wow.
U.S. wins first class as Japan declares war. I was charged of quarters this date. That was in Fort Jackson, South Carolina. I was a sergeant, so I was charged of quarters the day war was declared on that Sunday. I'll never forget that. When my friend came in, Charlie Kerner, hey, Tony, he says, come on, he says, we're at war with Japan. What? What the hell are you talking about? He says, well, they bombed Pearl Harbor. Well, where the hell is Pearl Harbor? I didn't know, really.
Wow. Boys, can I take your picture with Mr. Sojka?
Hey, I didn't know I was gassing all the while. How come you guys never interrupted me? Huh?
Yeah, it's already 11 o'clock.
Oh, my God, really?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. Okay, now how about getting in a little more?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one, too. Great. Wonderful.
You mean you took it already?
Two.
I'll be darned.
You know what?
really.
I want you to stand there. I want to take a picture with you and Jim.
Now, when I was in, we